Hey, how's everybody doing? Matt McNeil coming from the garage, and I am working on Raoul, and this is actually a skull that I had printed. It's an underskull, and I learned a little bit about 3D printing. Well, actually, I kind of knew it, but then I forgot it, and then when I did it, I realized that I had kind of made a boo-boo. And what I did was I printed this skull face up, which ended up with these rings here. So what I did was I went back and I reoriented this print so that it would print this way and there wouldn't be any rings. The rings would be at the top of the head, which will be covered, and then the face will be nice and smooth like this, and it will require far less prep work than this. So what I'm using this guy for is as my sort of like armature base to paint these Raoul skulls, because I needed something, you know, to mount him on, and there's his bottom jaw. So what I can do is I can glue this in a slightly open position to fit the inside of that latex, and I can paint directly on this guy. And you might say, well, why aren't you using the jawbone and skull that you sculpted on? And the simple answer to that is it's kind of a mess in regard to pulling the clay off of the main part of the skull. But more importantly, I'm actually using that lower jaw, and just the lower jaw, one of these, exactly this, that was underneath all that clay. I'm using it as its own armature right now because when I started painting the Raoul skin last night, and it was on that armature, that face armature, or skull armature, I realized that you could see a whole lot inside of his mouth, and, you know, I like to finish things, and so it became increasingly clear that it needed to have a mouth interior of sorts, at least a tongue and like a floor of the inside of his mouth. So that's what I did here. This is the second batch of UltraCal 30 that I've mixed in a week, which is amazing because usually I have to build myself up. But this was a small mold, which is great. And the other thing is that Raoul mold is a one-part mold, so that's nice and easy. But I will tell you that having used HydroCal for so long, it's one of those things that has built up such an anxiety in me, particularly UltraCal, because the way you have to work with it. I really like UltraCal, but it could go south so quickly. And what's interesting to me is UltraCal is so much easier to use than HydroCal. Don't crucify me, those of you who don't want me to say that using UltraCal is easy. It's not easy, but it's easier. It's definitely easier because you have a lot more working time and you can layer it, which is pretty great. So it's not like you have to mix it up and once it starts to kick, you're done. You've got a little bit of time to mess with it, and doing that mold and this mold has built up a little bit of confidence in me, and that's going to lead to me doing that scanners mold very shortly. So anyway, I figured it would be kind of fun to take a look and see how this is going to work, because, you know, you can see this is the plastic 3D printed skull piece, and I built a plastilina base inside because I didn't want to use all my monster clay, and then I used the plastiline for the mold wall as well. But I figured I'd just open this on camera and let's take a look at it together. This may suck, it may not work, and if it's a disaster, I promise you I'll still post it and you're watching it, and we don't know whether it's a disaster yet, but we all have disasters, so I'm certainly not immune. So let's take a look, see if we can get this this mold wall off of here, and see if we can get this plastic jaw off. That's going to be the question. But the beauty of this is, since I printed this 3D jaw, here it is, see the 3D jaw? Since I printed this guy, if I have to break this to get my inner mouth and tongue out, I will absolutely break this. But before I break it, what I will do is I'll heat it, because it's you know, this is heat sensitive, that's how it works. And so I'll heat it up and see if I can bend it out and pull this out, because it'd be great to still keep this for whatever reason, but the reality is I don't have to have it. I don't need it. So let's see what happens. Let's get a little bit of this clay off. Yeah, that's going to be the... All right, start to see inside there. Because the reality, too, is if I wanted to, I could dig all the clay out from the very bottom. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm going to have to dig the tip of his tongue out here. That's going to be a pain. But there you go. Mold separation. Oh, look, there's some brush hairs in there. That stinks. You know, one of the things that sometimes if that happens, what I'll do is I'll take a lighter, or a heat gun, and I'll hit it with that, and that lighter or heat gun will just burn those off. But there it is. All right. So what I'll do now is I will clean this out, and I'll pour some latex in it, and probably post a picture in the comments. If this is on YouTube, which it probably will be, there will be no comments. So head over to my Instagram or my Facebook and see if you can track down the results of this mold, or you can see what a finished Raoul looks like, probably if it's, a year from now when you find this video. So there you go. Another mold made in a week. And this one is an inner mouth. I'll pour this in latex, and then it will sit inside the mouth. I'll glue it all in, paint it all up, and then now when you look inside, there'll be something going on in there rather than just being, empty, because that's no fun, right? Hope everybody's having a good New Year, and I will talk to you soon.